A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I begin, as I always begin, in the name of Allah, whose grace I seek in this and all other matters. I wanted to continue with my series on the divine names, the 99 names, al-Asma'a, al-Husna'a, particularly because I have been focusing on paying attention to the Jamal aspects of it, the divine feminine. And today I want to talk about al-Shafi'i. So the idea of Shafi'i is healing. And because I just realized, because I just got some implants, that the last 12 months was probably the most intensive medical year of my life. In between the cancer diagnosis, surgery, hospitalization, the abscess tooth extraction, and now the implant. It was a huge year, but that's not really what I want to talk about, separately. Really what I want to talk about is notions of wellness. And the reason why I want to do that is because when my sheikh does the reading of the Hizbul Bahar, which is one of the witr, and durood for al-Tariqa, whenever he gets to, within the durood, we also repeat certain zikr, different names of Allah, from the 99 names. And whenever he gets to al-Shafi'i, he calls out, this is, at least in the Black community, is what we used to do. He calls out sometimes specific people, but he says, first he says, for all the people, and then he, mentions some people in particular, because that's what we do. That's what the call out is all about. I remember other Sufi sessions where, whenever we were doing our sort of dua at the end, one of the things that we would do is to, call out people who to whom we especially wanted to send dua, and the good barakah that we had gathered in this sukhbah, in this gathering, this sacred worship and community. And so I noticed that every time we get to that place, reading the witr, and then he, reminds us of everyone, and then specific people, and I start thinking about specific people. And I also think about the vulnerability factor that goes with any context in which you need healing. But healing is not just, as my past 1 year intense experience was all about, healing is not just the body. Certainly the body is included and is important, and I'm, even with these 99 names, I'm talking about the embodiment and significance of it. But healing is also your spiritual well-being, the state of being healthy includes, obviously, like political situations. War is not healthy. This terrible sign that says war is not healthy for children and other living things. So when I think about the Shafi'i, the term about Allah as the one who provides health or healing, I think about the feminine aspect of it being one where health and healing is a reciprocal relationship. And as we are, within the next 2 days or so, with the new moon entering into Sha'aban, which is the 1 month before Ramadan, as I have gotten older, I've become much more intense about using Sha'ban as a preparation for Ramadan. One of the things is if I'm consuming too much sugar, is that I wean myself off of sugar so that I have um, a sugar-free Ramadan. I've had a sugar-free Ramadan for the last several Ramadans, if not 100%, pretty much 98%. Sometimes I get invited out and I sneak a sugar-based dessert that's being offered, but I pretty much stick with the sugar-free. Now, this is not about some exertion of some special something or other, on my part, that, look at me, I'm just so good and blah, blah, blah. But because I have a problem and I tend to fall back into consuming the sugar, and because I have a family history of diabetes. So for the last 10 or 15 years, actually, I have had to keep my eye on my blood sugar levels. And, it just keeps going very close to that pre-diabetic state. And pre-diabetic to me, along the lines of how I'm trying to discuss the Shafi'i, is the notification that I must begin my part in participating in my wellness. So I start to pay attention to what I am consuming and to how that consumption aligned with the genetic predisposition contributes to the state of wellness and well-being. So I see a Shafi'i as feminine because there is a specific and intimate connection to the creatures. We are created, by Allah. We're Allah's creation. So as creatured beings, as beings created by our Creator, to me, the divine feminine names, the Jamal names, are names in which there is a much more indication of the partnership between us and the law in achieving, whatever is, that attribute. So in this case, wellness, that we do have some agency with regard to our states of health. And despite, for example, my family's predisposition towards high blood pressure, hypertension, and diabetes, I can activate in concert with my Lord that which will help to create the state of wellness. And again, it's clear when you give physical examples, diabetes, abscess tooth or whatever, it's clear when you give these kinds of things, but also to think, especially, entering into Sha'ban, the preparation for Ramadan, the sacred months. Also think about your overall wellness. So for example, this year, I made a decision to have it be a year where I celebrate the joy of my choice to become Muslim 50 years ago, a half a century. And this comes and goes, like everything else, ebbs and flows. But in reality, it could have been very easy for me to become bitter by some of the experiences that I've had with regard to my social justice and embodied ethics work. But I have not. I've had such a grace. So one of the ways in which we relate holistically to our wellness is what they say in the New Age about affirmation. Because Islam always had, Alhamdulillah ala kulli hal, and praise be to Allah, no matter what condition. So praise is celebration, it's affirmation. Living in an affirmation of the goodness in your life, the barakah from Allah, the blessings from our Creator, is one way in which we also begin to experience a deep level of wellness, so that when I address the physical things that are in need of healing. I have an attitude of gratitude. I'm so grateful to have reached this age, to have experienced as an adult half a century of Islam, the ebbs and flows of it, and yet not become bitter, not become angry. All right, so let's say it in the affirmative. There is joy, and that joy is itself a kind of wellness. So I am sharing about the Shafi'i to share about the affirmation of goodness, and that affirmation becomes an aspect of our partnership with Allah Shafi'i for our shifa, for our wellness.